Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Tony Reed-Street, and today I'm wearing two hats, Church Warden and President of Sedbergh branch of the Royal British Legion. Wearing my first hat, a very warm welcome to all of you to St Andrews, which is hosting the Streams of Remembrance, which has been inspired by the recent poppy display at Carlisle Castle. Now, in my capacity as a local president, I would like to thank all those involved in this wonderful tribute to the fallen and survivors of 2 world wars and numerous periods of active service up to the present day. I would also like to thank the History Society for their informative and thought-provoking display. 100 years on from the end of the First World War, we are not only remembering, but we are also saying thank you to those who lost their lives and those who survived, but whose lives were never the same. Now, before I hand over to Lady Kerr, who has kindly accepted our invitation to open this event, may I remind you of this morning's sequence. After Lady Kerr has opened the Streams of Remembrance, there will be 5 poetry readings. Following the readings, it will be time to brave the elements and plant poppies along the Streams of Remembrance. Lady Kerr and the poetry readers will lead us into the churchyard, and then, if anybody wants to lay their own poppy, please follow on, and there will be some guides to advise you where to plant your poppy. During poppy planting, refreshments will be available in the parish room at the rear of the church, and there is also a visitor's book on the oak table, which we would like everybody here to sign. Enough from me. It's now my very great pleasure to ask Lady Kerr to open the Streams of Remembrance.
I'm here on behalf of my husband, who was the Vice Chairman of the Commonwealth War Graves for 6 years during the 1990s. As many of you know, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission is made up of 6 of the old Commonwealth countries, and their main task is to maintain the graves and places of commemoration for all the 1.7 million who died in the First and Second World Wars. It was generally felt back in the 90s that as older veterans and relatives of the war dead passed away, so interest in these memorials would wane, particularly for the First World War. However, the opposite has occurred, spurred on not only by the digital age, but also through teaching new generations in schools and in commemorations such as this. This wonderful commemoration here in Sedbergh, marking the close of that horrendous slaughter of World War I 100 years ago, which is being echoed up and down the country, is proof of the enduring importance of remembering. I have my own personal reasons for remembering at this time. My grandfather, who my father was too young to know, was killed in trench warfare just 100 years ago, less 6 weeks. He was awarded a posthumous OBE for bravery, for trying to rescue wounded from no man's land. And now he is one of the countless numbers who are lying at peace in a Commonwealth war grave. So I am planting a poppy in remembrance of my grandfather, who was killed all those years ago. A brief word about poppies. They became a symbol for remembrance from 1918, along with their association with Remembrance Day, which was inaugurated by King George V in 1919, because of a poem by a Canadian, a Colonel McRae, called In Flanders Fields. And this poem became immensely popular right across the Commonwealth. And I would like to quote it to you now. In Flanders fields the poppies grow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. So, never let us forget. I feel honoured and privileged to be asked to open this very beautiful and moving display of the stream of poppies here in Sedbergh. Thank you.
And thank you very much. Now to our poems. And our first poem is going to be read by Brian Cassidy. Brian left Sedbergh School in May 1988 and joined the Army in January 1989. He left the Army in 2005 as a warrant officer, having served in the former Republic of Yugoslavia, the United Nations Protection Force, and later with NATO, Northern Ireland, Iraq, and in Yemen for 18 months, where he commanded the United Kingdom and the United States Joint Special Operations Task Force mission. As a civilian, he lived and worked in Iraq from 2005 to 2009, and Afghanistan from 2011 to 2014, leading the United States Department of State Indigenous Engagement Programs. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Cassidy.
So this is a poem called Tommy Atkins, written by Rudyard Kipling in 1892. I went into a public house to get a pint of beer. The publican, he up and says, we serve no redcoats here. The girls behind the bar, they laughed and giggled fit to die. So I out into the street again, and to myself, says I, oh, it's Tommy this and Tommy that, and Tommy go away. But it's thank you, Mr. Atkins, when the band begins to play. The band begins to play, my boys, the band begins to play. Oh, it's thank you, Mr. Atkins, when the band begins to play. I went into a theatre, as sober as can be. They gave a drunk civilian room, but hadn't none for me. They sent me to the gallery, or round the music halls. But when it comes to fighting, Lord, oh, they'll put me in the stalls. For it's Tommy this and Tommy that, and Tommy wait outside. But it's special train for Atkins when the troopers on the tide. The troop ships on the tide, my boys. The troop ships on the tide. Oh, it's special train for Atkins when the troopers on the tide. Yes, making mocker uniforms that guard you while you sleep is cheaper than them uniforms, and their starvation cheap. And hustling drunken soldiers when they're going large a bit is 5 times better business than parading in full kit. Then it's Tommy this and Tommy that, and Tommy how's your soul? But it's thin red line of heroes when the drums begin to roll. The drums begin to roll, my boys, the drums begin to roll. Oh, it's thin red line of heroes when the drums begin to roll. We no thin red heroes, no we aren't no blackguards too, but single men in barracks, most remarkable, like you. And if sometimes our conduct isn't all your fancy pants, well, single men in barracks don't grow into plaster saints. While it's Tommy this and Tommy that, and Tommy fall behind, but it's pleased to walk in front, sir, when there's trouble in the wind. There's trouble in the wind, my boys, there's trouble in the wind. Oh, it's pleased to walk in front, sir, when there's trouble in the wind. You talk of better food for us and schools and fires and all. We'll wait for extra rations if you'll treat us rational. Don't mess about the cookroom slops, but prove it to our face. The widow's uniform is not the soldier man's disgrace. For it's Tommy this and Tommy that, and chuck him out the brute. But it's saviour of the country when the guns begin to shoot. And it's Tommy this and Tommy that, and anything you please. And Tommy ain't a fool, you bet that Tommy sees.
Thank you, Brian. Our next poem is read by Nick Cross. Corporal Nick Cross joined the Royal Military Police in 1969, and in 1970, as part of the Parachute Regiment, he spent time in Belfast before being sent to the Oman, where the incidents described in his piece occurred. A 2-year attachment in Northern Ireland to the Headquarters Northern Ireland Intelligence from 1974 to 1976 was interspersed with time in Germany before serving in the Supreme Headquarters, Allied Powers Europe, until his discharge in 1978. After which, thoroughly shaken by his service, he decamped to Spain, where he spent the next 30 years.
It was the high summer of 1972. The British had established Sultan Qaboos on the throne of Oman. Groups opposed to the coup staged a short but vicious uprising that was, with equal ruthlessness, put down. I and 2 friends went as part of a specialist unit in support of the Omani army. Spider, Snack, and Monkey Me. We were young then, Spider, Snack, and Monkey Me. Spider the parrot, minus some Snack, and Monkey Me. Inseparable 3 we were then, we who ran the beacons and yonked the moor, who payday chased the girls, and skint, why, we shared our fags. Alive we were that summer, we indestructible youth, cursing the sergeants who trained us, who bawled at us and kept us sharp. Young in the sun, bronzed in our innocence, we faced every challenge, and together, much muddied, came laughing through. I think you're ready, our officer said. Heard of Dhofar? No? Ha, you soon will. Carry on, Sergeant Tice. Never heard of it, said Snack. Arabs, said Spider. Oman, I said. Clever bugger, they replied. From wild, wet Wales to a summer heat that slays, a gouging light that burns, here where the painted dead waste over which bold Thesiger walked, here the Burnous Bedouin drive their goats and have for limitless time. Mountains dry and high, roads rare and dusty then, looking for insurgents, when a flash of light, a crack, a rattle, get down, take cover, cock and aim, second nature now. Then it was done, and Spider was dead, while Snack lay bleeding on the ground. It was a grey Birmingham day that laid him to rest. The last post sounded, and, with wreath adorned, Spider was gone. His mother asked me how he died, and I, too young to recollect what only long years have taught. He was my mate, I said, and through her tears, I hope his mother understood.
Thank you, Nick. Our next poem is going to be read by Dilys Evans. Dilys lives and was brought up in Sedbergh, attending the British school in what is now Farfield Clothing. She's an active member of the History Society. Her poem was written by a much-loved teacher at Sedbergh Preparatory School, also known for his poems and who fought and was killed in action in 1916.
Nicholas Todd was a schoolmaster at the prep school in Sedbergh. He called it PSS in his poems, and he worked there from 1906 to 1916 in what is now called Carra's House and was called the Terrace when I grew up, and I lived there until the age of 14. He loved Sedbergh, and Sedbergh loved him. He was funny, sensitive, energetic, loved nature, and was a gifted teacher of young children. As well as teaching Latin, he took the boys into our Sedbergh area, and they could name wild flowers, birds, and had scrambled up every fell, along every river, and had had magical adventures. This is one of his poems written in August 1916 while training. He went to France, and within weeks he was dead. Dear Jeff, I wonder if you'd like to be a soldier of King George like me, the same as me, to live in huts arranged in long straight rows, or if you'd rather, call them bungalows. Your bed, 3 boards on which you rest at night, which you're required by order to keep white, to rise at 6 or usually much later, and wash and dress and shave at such a rate a bedroom at PSS would hardly equal, then marching about for hours as a sequel. To listen to advice from NCOs, how to stick bayonets inside your foes, and many other military chores, and all the mysteries of forming fours. A change indeed from that old room I sat in, trying to teach the elements of Latin, and bringing boys whose names I will not mention in army parlance to strict attention. I hope when I return, if e'er I do, you'll know your Latin grammar all right through, and have no trouble when I am a civvy in reading off at sight a page of Livy. Meanwhile, I wander sometimes up and down along the ridges circling Winton town, finding the orchids, bending to the breeze, or lying on the wild thyme at my ease, or hearing still the minster's giant pile, the throb of glory thrilling up the aisle, and dreaming of the princes who, years past, built their memorials, and only asked for those who came after just one prayer to say, for those who went into the eternal day forever, where the tracery of one heaven lets in the light from all file planet 7. And so farewell, much love, and may we meet where the swift Rothy splashes round the feet of laughing boys, and Winder's dear old crest catches the sunlight dying in the west, and laden with the spoils, the PSS return with shouting in their usual mess.
Thank you, Dilys. Our next reader is Aaron Kennedy. Aaron is a 29-year-old veteran of the war in Afghanistan. Following his tour of duty in Afghanistan with the Duke of Lancaster's regiment, Aaron was medically discharged from the army in 2014 with acute post-traumatic stress disorder. Aaron, who originally came from Lee in Greater Manchester, is now living and working in Sedbergh with livestock, and is a full-time student at Uckland in Preston, studying nutrition and exercise to pursue a career to help other veterans adjust to civilian life. He wrote this poem at a particularly difficult point in his life.
You can take the man out of the military, you can't take the military out of the man. Soldier that made, soldier that born. We are the thorns and the roses keeping life beautiful during the storm. Yet we can cast aside when the storm has passed. Out of sight, out of mind, many of us lost in the sands of time. The ones who are left stand uniform row after row, knowing one day it could be their time to go. War is horrible and war is wrong. Hopefully peace will one day be the world's song. But until that day, we are the ones that will stand and stay strong. Side by side, row after row, just another number that you will never know.
Thank you, Aaron. Our last poem is read by Keith Kirby. Keith left Sedbergh School in May 1983 and joined the army the month after. In 2006, after 22 years' service, Keith retired from the army as a warrant officer. He then re-enlisted into the military Provost Guard service in 2009 and is still serving at Catterick Garrison today. During his service, Keith completed emergency tours in Ireland, the former Republic of Yugoslavia, and with the United Nations Protection Force, Cyprus, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And he has also served in Germany, Kenya, and Canada.
For the Fallen by Lawrence Binion. With proud thanksgiving, a mother for her children, England mourns for a dead across the sea. Flesh of her flesh they were, spirit of her spirit, fallen in the cause of the free. Solemn the drums thrill, death august and royal, sing sorrow up into immortal spheres. There is music in the midst of desolation, and a glory that shines upon our tears. They went with songs to battle, they were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They mingled not with their laughing comrades again. They sit no more at familiar tables of home. They have no lot in our labour of the daytime. They sleep beyond England's foam. But where our desires are, and our hopes profound, felt as a wellspring that is hidden from sight, to the innermost heart of their own hand, they are known, and as the stars are known to the night. As the stars shall be bright when we are dust, moving in marches upon the heavenly plain. As the stars that are starry in the time of our darkness, to the end they remain. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Hate shall not weary them, nor the years contemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. Thank you, Keith. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's now time to plant our poppies. If I could ask Lady Kerr and the readers to lead the way, and then please, any of you who wishes to plant a potty, please join us outside.
them anyway.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
Hello.
It's good if you scratch with your finger first. Right?